Hello and welcome to episode 113 of Riding in the Weeds. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are new here, welcome. So nice to have you. If you've been with us before, we appreciate you hanging out. And please say hi because, we're friends and stuff and we would love to hear from you. Today, we are going to talk about going backwards, changing direction, and pivoting. I'm resistant to calling it pivoting, but Jenny's like, Tash, we're talking about pivoting. So we're talking about that emotional quality, that feeling that we've failed, that feeling like when we change directions, what does it mean? And as always, the whole concept of this podcast is about really understanding that you're not alone, that we all get stuck. We all get into places in our lives where we feel like we're the only ones, when honestly, you're just having a human experience. And the more you judge it, the more that you put any sort of meaning on whatever it is, that's what keeps you stuck. The thing, the stuff, what's happening, that's actually irrelevant. Our experience is literally defined by what we make it mean. And as humans, we're meaning making machines. So it's a challenge. And I believe that part of our journey here on this planet is to understand ourselves, understand our gifts, understand what we're here for, understand how we communicate, how we connect, how we are with others, and using all of that to create the best experience we possibly can and giving ourselves a freaking break. A big part of that is that when you have to change direction, not making it mean anything more than you have to change direction. So I'm Natasha Lockie. I am a business builder. I'm here to help you overcome tech issues, whether they be trying to set up a calendar so you can book clients, setting up a really simple website, or maybe you've got an idea and you really want to get it out into the world online, or maybe you do have an online course, but you've done it in a really simple way. It's on Facebook, which means you don't own it. It might be in WhatsApp, which also means you don't own it. And there's a possibility that at the wrong click of a button, you could lose everything. There is another way. It's easier for you and it's easier for your students. So reach out to me if you want to chat about any of that. I'm here to help. Have great experience. And I'm always joined by the amazing Jenny, who compliments me quite perfectly. We found out recently when we were looking at our human design, particularly just in our throat chakra, but our open gates actually really complement each other quite well. And also our style of podcasting makes a lot of sense after figuring that out.
After 3 years.
Like, oh, that's why we do this. Okay. This rambling we do, it's totally just because we're so
Just
knowing.
doing our thing.
Doing our thing. Right.
Yeah, I am Jenny Brandon. I'm an animal communicator and energy healer for animals and their people too. If you find yourself in struggles with your pet, with your behavior situation, or challenges with daily life, or you've got things going on and you're concerned about how your pet views the world, that is a great reason to have a session together. And so reach out and let's get connected so we can get both of you back into more harmony together.
Awesome. And she does good work too. So if you haven't reached out to Jenny, I highly, highly recommend it. So as far as this turning around thing goes, I kind of got inspired by this topic because my husband and I were paddling the other day, and the goal was to paddle back from the lodge to Secret Beach Campground. It's 14 kilometers. It's a pretty simple paddle. Ian did it in like 2 hours the other day by himself. It was glassy. It was beautiful. Easy peasy. No big deal. And when I looked at the weather, I was like, oh, gusts of up to 20 kilometers an hour. And it's not big, but it's also
It's not
doesn't.
nothing.
Not nothing, right? And so then in the back of my mind, I'm like, there is a good chance we might not do this. And the thing is that we had two options. Option number one was we paddle back, and then Ian was going to bring the boats and himself back to the lodge, and I was going to stay with the dog. Essentially, I was going back to the beach. Ian was staying the night at the lodge. The other option was we went for a paddle and went back to the lodge, and I got on the water taxi and I went back to the beach. So there was a water taxi that could either bring Ian back from the beach if we paddled home, or it could bring me back from the lodge if we didn't paddle home. And we got paddling and it was beautiful. It was calm. It was lovely. And then we came around the corner and suddenly, like, we're in some pretty good troughs. And Ian looks at me. He's like, do we really want to do this? And I was like, I don't know. Do we? And he's like, well, we don't have to. I'm like, you're right. We don't. We can turn around and we can go back and I can jump on the ferry or taxi. And so we paddled for a little bit longer. And he's like, this is going to suck. And I'm like, probably. Like, do you feel like conquering an angry ocean right now or not? And it was that we were going into the wind, and then as soon as we went round the point, we were actually going to be side on to the wind, which really was not going to be the best. We're not like hardcore paddlers. We are t-shirt and shorts, full recreational, got the cup of tea. Like, it's not about, it's just we're out there for fun, right? And so we turned around, paddled up a river and meandered home, or meandered back to the lodge, and we got back there and we're like, yeah, we aborted. And they're like, yeah, no shit. Like, why would you have done that? And then, of course, the boat ride home was one of those moments where the aborting of the mission was very, very much confirmed when the boat was getting rocked almost scarily from side to side. And I was up on the top deck. I'm holding on, and the driver's just like, Tasha, you're still up there? Like, I haven't thrown you off the boat yet. If I hadn't been holding on, like, I could have easily just slipped off the side. Like, we were moving, and the whole time I was like, yeah, I would way rather be on this boat than on a little kayak. And I think this is generally every experience we have in life, right? The bigger the safety net you have, the easier it is to take risks. And yet sometimes we don't see our safety nets as a safety net, but we see them as a failure. How lucky are you if you have parents that you could move back in with? If for some reason you needed to go home. Anybody who has the ability to go home and live with their parents, maybe you've sold your house and you're choosing to relocate back to where your parents live and you can save money for the down deposit, you can go home, right? Whereas our society has this judgment against turning around, about going backwards. And I think this does tie into that whole, if it's not for forever, it's failure. We know we're going in the wrong direction. We know what we're doing isn't going to be the experience we want to have, but we're too scared to change direction or abort because we think that that equals failure.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a cultural, societal pressure in that regard that it tells us that story, right? That's just a story about a situation. And when I think about the experiences I've had with horses and with my animals, my dogs over the years, and even my cats, that the times I did not make a choice to pivot, turn around, make a change, do something different. And I kept trying to do whatever it was I had set out to do. Those are the times I got into trouble. Those are the 2 times in my life I was bucked off my horse, or because I was trying to do something that a part of me was well aware was not a good idea. But I had an agenda and I wanted to do a thing and then regretted it. I came off, and I mean, I was not injured either time, thankfully, but it was uncomfortable. I was safe each time, but looking back on it 100%, I can clearly see I should not have been doing that way. I should have made a change. It doesn't mean I needed to stop, but I should have done something differently that would have given me an outcome that would have been radically different than coming off my horse in an unplanned dismount. Those situations are the ones that we need to be able to be present with and decide, what is it worth to me? What is it worth to attempt to continue down this path versus making a change? And there's no failure in it. Frankly, I argue there is more success in making that change than there is failure in changing. And your ability to succeed expands when you are willing to make that change in whatever it is in your life, whether that's riding horses, whether that's safety paddling, working with your dogs, or being on your bike, or whatever it is in business, in life. If you are willing to say, you know what, this is not working the way that I expected it to, and it doesn't feel like going down this path is going to lead to anything good, I'm going to change. The thing is, people around you will argue with you all the time. It's not uncommon in the horse world for people to be like, oh yeah, just get on, just ride, do it anyway. But if your gut is telling you something different, you need to listen to your gut, because your gut is not going to steer you wrong. And your gut is going to keep you safe in the long run, in the bigger picture, from things you might not even be able to be aware of at the time. You may or may not even know that when you look back on it. Yeah. But that doesn't matter. What matters is you're listening to that inner guidance that's giving you the information. And people may tell you you're wrong. You may not ever be able to convince them otherwise. And that doesn't matter, because you did what you needed to do for yourself.
Yeah. You know, when you're making decisions based on ego versus making decisions based on your gut, that's where it hugely comes from, right? When we're pushing through a yoga pose because of ego, if you're pushing through a workout because of ego, you'll be on a bike trail and there's a down tree and you're like, oh, I'll go over this down tree, and then you go around a corner and there's another down tree, and it's like, okay, at this point, if I turn back, I'm only going to have to go back up this little bit and it's going to be okay. But if I keep going, it's going to be way harder for me to get backwards. And so making that decision based on curiosity, based on intuition, based on whatever it is, but not based on ego. When our ego gets involved, it's our brain getting involved. And again, the human design conversation we were having the other day, I asked the question about, I'll write something that just comes from, it'll just come out. It's what I feel like I want to say. And then I'll reread it and be like, oh, is that too much of whatever? And I question this message I've put out, and I wonder if I need to edit it. And what Laura Michelle said was, as soon as it's the brain asking the question, as soon as the brain is asking, how is this going to be received? And there's a fear that it might be received in a negative way, then often you're stepping into that space of other people. If you're in a yoga class, you're in a group ride, you're doing something where there are other people to quote unquote impress, this is where we have to take a step back and really ask, where is my decision making coming from? I've been challenged by this so often because of my food preferences. Somebody will ask me a question. It's like, I'll go to a restaurant, and I mean, me being in an Italian restaurant is like the worst place to take me, because I don't really like Italian food to start with. And great, now there's a gluten-free option, but I don't like any of the options that go with the gluten-free option. And it is a struggle for me to not then have everyone trying to make me happy. Now, I'm fine.
Yeah.
All good. But then you've got other people, and so then you're starting to make decisions because you want to make other people happy.
Yeah.
It's like, where is the process coming from? And if we can separate the ego, if we can separate the mind from, as you say, the gut, then, yeah, what's worse? Being upside down in the ocean, or going back to the lodge and being like, yeah, we decided that we didn't want to do that.
Yeah. Comfortable and dry for the ride, or miserable and wet and possibly dangerous, you know? Like, and that's the other piece of that is, are you making the decision trying to keep other people from being uncomfortable? One of the times I came off, I was on a trail ride with friends, and they honestly would have been fine no matter what we had chosen. If I had spoken up and said, hey, I think this is far enough, I think we need to go back, they probably would have walked us back and then gone out themselves further, and that would have been fine. There wouldn't have been a problem, and that wasn't really in my mind. The issue came when we were surprised by some deer, is what happened. But there was a piece of me that kind of knew we were probably in over our heads at that point, and we were probably a little too far out of our element. And so it can be just as easy to make a decision like that based on the fear of not wanting to upset someone else. Okay, so we're at an Italian restaurant. What decision are you making to keep yourself comfortable and to set your own boundaries around what you do and don't need in terms of food without causing other people discomfort? And I think that's what we end up doing, is we end up falling in these traps where we're trying to make ourselves comfortable because someone else is uncomfortable and we don't want them to be uncomfortable, and so therefore we don't want to be uncomfortable, and so we make these decisions and it gets super skewed. And it's not helpful or healthy for any one of us. But again, what's important is, even if it feels like turning around, even if it feels like going back, even if it feels like a regression, that sometimes that is the path forward. The horse that I exercise for my friend every week, I've been working with her now I've known her since as long as I've had my horse, which is like 17, 18 years. And I've been riding her and working her once a week now for probably 4 or 5 years at this point. And almost 2 years ago, she had an injury and we were not able to ride. And I didn't know how long that was going to be, but we changed the work we were doing and I went back to working her on the ground, and it was a year and a half. And now I'm riding again, and her riding is stronger than it has ever been, even before the injury. Yeah. And so sometimes what feels like going backwards is actually necessary to give you more skills or fill in a gap or give you more information that you would not otherwise have if you continue to push forward. And again, the pushing forward could lead to injury itself. And so if we can stop making the having to change, the having to pivot, the having to go backward wrong, and just go, well, this is the direction I'm going in now. Yeah. And allow it to be what it is, you just never know how that is going to benefit you in a bigger way when you get to the other side. And I think that's the beautiful part about it, is that there's so many situations in my life now where I look and I'm like, wow, if I hadn't have, quote, gone backwards, I would not be as far along as I am. And that to me is exciting, because now it's like, ooh, interesting. I get to go backwards. I wonder what's going to happen. And I can look at it with curiosity instead of as failure or beating myself up, or I should be, there's the S word again, I should be doing something else. I should be further along. Life is not linear. And the faster we can be okay with that, and the faster we can go, oh, cool, a pivot. Oh, great, I get to go backwards. I wonder what's going to happen here. The more fun it gets to be, the more joy we get to have, and the more freedom we get to have to be able to grow and expand in what is arguably a more efficient way, even though we can't see it from where we are in the moment.
Well, we have no idea, right? It's really about being in the flow. It's about being in that trust. It's about letting go and just allowing whatever is going to happen to happen. There is an amazing book by Michael J. Singer, The Art of Surrender. And the amount of times he has to just let it all go and really give up whatever he thought was going to happen. And at the end of the story, he essentially loses everything. And the interesting thing is like, he didn't want any of it to start with. And he really has to sit down. And then when it is in the moment where he completely lets it all go, that he actually gets it all back.
Yeah.
I highly recommend listening to, I don't read anything, reading The Art of Surrender. It is just one of the best books. I've listened to it several times. I should probably actually read it. And then there's another book, I can't remember who it's by, Let It Go, that took me years to actually fully read the book. But it's priceless. The concept, and it's so hard for some reason, because we are holding on so tightly because we're so attached to our identity, to whatever meaning we've given, whatever it is we're doing, that the idea of losing it is more terrifying of what we might gain.
Yeah.
And you just don't know what's in store for you, and you never will. Right? If you take one direction over another direction, make it the right direction, because damn it, it's the only one you've got. And I think when we do that, and when we choose joy, I read something else, it's the last thing I'll say on this, but the concept was that if every time you have a decision to make, you choose the one that gives you more joy and more excitement, it doesn't actually matter what the outcome is. You will live a joyful and exciting life, because the decisions you are making are purely based on that one lights me up. The idea of doing that really lights me up. And when we were thinking about, like, do we stay at the campground for the winter or do we go to Mexico? And it was pretty easy for me to, like, I didn't have any excitement about staying here. There was nothing exciting about staying here. The idea of going to Mexico, there's fear, there's all sorts of stuff that could go, there are so many things, but I'm so excited about it. And I'm okay with whatever happens, because it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. And yeah, it's going to open some door. And then I get to make another choice, and another choice, and another choice.
Well, and I think the key to remembering in those moments is that being uncomfortable isn't wrong. And that the discomfort of having to pivot or making a change or changing direction, we can make that feel wrong, and it isn't wrong. It's like the discomfort of a yoga pose, or the discomfort of trying to help a horse develop coordination. It's hard, but hard doesn't mean wrong. And if we can find a way to be okay in the discomfort, then we can find the joy in the process, no matter what direction we're going. And the less we can make it about just strictly, does this feel good or not? If we only went on that, I mean, I'd be eating a lot of ice cream and pizza all the time, because that sure does taste good. But eventually, I'm not going to feel good. So,
but it doesn't feel good. This is going back to the idea of who do you want to be, right? If your goal is to be someone who's healthy and strong, then no, choosing ice cream isn't the better choice.
Well, it's the short-term discomfort versus the long-term comfort. And in the short term, ice cream feels great, but in the long term, it's not. And that's what I have to keep focused on, is the long term. And I think this is the whole idea, is just the bigger picture, that having to make a pivot doesn't mean anything in the bigger picture. It's just a bump in the road. It's just a zigzag in the trail, and you don't ever really go backwards. Life's experiences will always keep unfolding ahead of you.
Yeah.
Even if it feels like you have to go backwards, you don't ever really truly regress, because you've gained more experiences. So even, quote, going back is not the same experience as it was the first time. And so
well,
can you just explore that at that point and allow it to unfold no matter what direction you're going?
Well, then I think sometimes reflecting on why you think it's going backwards, or where is that coming from? Is that a you standard, or is that a society standard?
Mm-hmm.
What's important to you versus what's important. I saw some people had posted, I'm X number of years old, and by society standard I've failed because I don't have this and I don't have that and I don't have this and I don't have that, but I get to do XYZ and this and that. And it's like, why does that even need to be said, really?
Yeah.
What are we justifying? Cool, you don't have
why is there a collective standard in the first thing? We're all individuals. Who cares where you are?
Yeah. And I mean, great. You chose to not have children. You chose to not buy your forever home. You chose not to live with someone forever. You chose to keep pivoting in the direction that made you happy. And it's only when we feel like we are influenced by those things, again, ego,
Yep.
expectation,
Yeah.
it's okay to do what is the right thing in the moment.
Yeah. There's supposedly a Chinese proverb. I have no idea what the validity of this is, but it sounds good. That there's this old man and he has a farm and he's farming on it and the horse runs away. And the townspeople come and they're like, "Oh, we're so sorry. This is terrible." And he shrugs his shoulders and says, "Good luck, bad luck, too soon to tell." Well, a couple days later, his son is working in the field because the horse is gone. I'm probably botching this story completely, but it'll make sense enough. And he falls and breaks his leg. And the people come and they're like, "Oh no, this is so terrible. Your son is unable to work." And he shrugs his shoulders and says, "Good luck, bad luck, too soon to tell." Well, a couple days later, the horse comes back and brings with her a band of wild horses. So now he has 10 horses instead of one. And the townspeople are like, "Oh, wow, what good luck." And he shrugs his shoulders and says, "Good luck, bad luck, too soon to tell." And then war breaks out in the area, and all of the young people have to go and fight in the war. Well, his son's leg is broken. And so his son cannot go. And so now the people say, "Oh, what good luck you have." And he shrugs his shoulders and says, "Good luck, bad luck, too soon to tell." And we just never know what the outcome of any given situation is going to be, even when it feels like we're going backwards, even an injury or even losing something or anything like that. You just don't know where it's going to take you. And so you might as well not make it mean too much about anything. It's just an experience. And I believe that's what we are here for. That's the whole point of a human experience, is an experience. We aren't here on some destiny or path. We aren't here to learn lessons or, well, when you get the lesson, you quit experiencing it. Well, we're just here for experiences. What if that's all it is? It's not any more complicated than that.
Yeah.
So just enjoy the ride while you're here, whatever it is and whatever it looks like. Good luck, bad luck, too soon to tell.
Yeah, and if it feels like failing to turn around, then I don't even know how to finish that sentence, but
I mean, is it though? What is that? Like, who gets to decide that? Who decides what that looks like? Yeah, you are the only person in that scenario, not your family, not your parents, not your friends, not your community. You're the only one that gets to decide what is and isn't failing. And frankly, my opinion on failing is the only way you fail is when you don't try. When you don't try something, that's what failing is. Everything else is just an experiment.
Yep.
Who developed the light bulb? How many were there? There were like 100 different times he tried before they actually came up with a light bulb. What if he had decided it was a failure at the second try and quit? No, it wasn't a failure. They were experiments. It was an experiment to see where it went. And eventually we got a light bulb, which is pretty freaking cool in my book. I'm glad he never quit. We might all be in the dark with oil lamps. That doesn't sound like fun right now.
We're in some sort of simulation, whether it's whether we're in the Matrix or not. Really, this is a quantum reality. And yeah, it's the only way you really fail is if you don't get back up.
Yeah. Don't try something else. Even if you fall down, crawl. Who cares for a while? You never know what you're going to learn while you're down there. Even all of the surgeries and things that I've experienced, I've learned things about myself in those processes. And even years later, I have learned things about myself in that experience that gave me value. It was hard. It sucked. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. But yet I also have gained things from it that I wouldn't have if I hadn't had those experiences. So when we stop worrying about whether it's good or bad, whether we're going forward or backward or where we're going at all, and you just keep putting one foot in front of the other in the way that feels most authentic to you, even if it's hard, even if it's challenging, then we get to enjoy the ride and just, again, it's experience, right? We're just gaining experiences.
Ian was telling me a random story the other day. Tony Hawk, the skateboarder, was at his house and his Bones Brigade park, and he had some other famous skateboarder with him. They're not young men anymore. And
no, they're not.
and they had this 14-year-old little up and upcoming ripper chick that was there. And they're like, okay, so what we're going to do is basically, Tony, you're going to do this maneuver, and then I'm going to do this. And then they look at the chick and they're like, and you need to do like a 10-foot air over the top of all of us. So there'll be three of us doing this thing all at the same time. And she's like, I don't know if I can go 10 foot. And he's like, just do this, then do this. And then by that point, you'll be going so fast, you'll easily go 10 foot. Don't even worry about it. And she's like, okay. So she drops in and she does the first air and then she does the second air. And as she's coming in to drop back in again, they both drop in and Tony does his thing and the other guy does his thing and she goes flying over the top of them. And the other guy looks at Tony. He's like, oh, it's really good to have someone who can go big, isn't it? And they're totally like, we're not going to do that anymore. Like, we're way too old and broken for that to be a reality for us. But we got this other chick, she can do it. It's like knowing where you're at. They're not like, oh, we're too old to do anything. Like, we'll just do our version of being rad. And then we've got her, she can do the final one. And I think so often it's knowing where you're at. And then they wanted to create whatever it was they were creating. They probably got a super rad picture. So they found someone who was able to do something that they weren't willing to do and didn't really care to do and can't do anymore. It didn't mean they were any less rad than they've ever been. It just meant that they recognized the skills of the three of them and used them appropriately, right? And I think that's something I've really started to realize with what I'm doing with my business building business. There's too many B's in there. But I got the ability to go in and build up the tech inside whatever program you want to use. And right at this moment in time, I'm not building my own course. And if I was to be building my own course, I wouldn't want to be doing what I'm doing for myself because I'd be too busy wanting to market it. I'd be too busy wanting to create other things. I'd be too busy wanting to talk about what I'm actually doing to want to spend the time copying and pasting and formatting and making sure it's the right color and it's all lined up. There are times and places, and each one of us are good at doing different things. And so if we can lean on each other's experience and know where we stop and where other people come in, and that doesn't mean that, again, I can do all this stuff, but if I was about to build my own course, I would probably hire somebody to do exactly what I'm doing right now. Not because I can't do it. Not because I'm not capable of doing it, but because that's not where I need to be in that moment in time. And I think that's a trap we fall into a lot of the time too, is that we think that we need to be able to do it all.
Yeah.
And I mean, Tony Hawk used to go 10 foot easy peasy. He used to do all these things, but he doesn't want to do that.
Yeah.
So he's not going to in this moment in time. And
yeah.
Again, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. I think it's about knowing yourself and knowing where you're at and then being willing to make the shifts and changes as they rise in whatever that looks like and not making it wrong. It means nothing that Tony Hawk chose not to do that at this point in time.
Yeah.
You know, so it's listening to that inner guidance, that intuition, that gut, whatever you want to call it, however it speaks to you, learning what that voice sounds like, and then following it and being very protective of listening to that at any given time over whatever anyone else says, because they will never know you from the inside. And you knowing you on the inside is what matters the most. And that's what will keep you safe. That's what will keep you out of the weeds. Because ignoring it, that's a surefire way to land yourself right in the middle of the weeds and to get stuck there for quite a while until you disentangle yourself again. And so it's figuring out how to not go there and follow whatever it needs to be, even if it feels like going backwards, even if it feels like going the opposite direction that you think you want to go in. Because your intuition won't lead you wrong. It never does. It keeps you safe.
Keeps you going in the direction you're supposed to go in.
Yep.
Allows you to stay in the flow. And there is a trust, whether you believe in God, believe in the universe, whatever your belief pattern is, knowing that there is a greater plan that's there for us, and knowing that we're not alone in this, I think allows us to step into that trust. It allows us to turn around and go back when that doesn't feel like what we want to do. And I'm terrible at persevering and ending up in the weeds, literally. Like, wow, should not have gone that far down that trail, because now turning around's going to suck. And I knew I shouldn't have done that, but I really wanted to know what was at the end.
Yeah, it's that little voice, right? It's that little thing that tells you this is not the path you need to be going on. You definitely need to go back the other way or to make a change. And every time I have ignored that voice, I have regretted it. I ended up with a giant rock on my windshield one time. The one time I did listen, I slowed down on a hill and there was a tractor trailer in the road on a blind curve.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would have done if I had not listened to that voice that said, I should slow down right now. And when you learn that voice, it becomes non-negotiable. And the rock on my windshield, the little voice said, don't take the highway, take the surface roads, take the regular streets. And I was like, highway's shorter, and ended up with a giant rock on my windshield. Like big rock, like I had a baseball sized, not hole, because you don't get a hole in your windshield, but it was probably a baseball sized rock that hit my windshield. Thank goodness it didn't damage the rest of the car anywhere else, but yeah, I had to have my whole windshield replaced.
I got a hole in my windshield once. The entire windshield exploded on me and my girlfriend.
Not good. Yeah.
On the highway. That wasn't fun.
No.
Anyway, we digress. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us on this conversation today. It's just a roll on from last week. The whole idea really being that just follow your heart, follow your gut, and just notice when the ego, notice who's talking, who's driving the car. And sometimes maybe you do just want to see where it goes and you're willing to accept the consequences. And sometimes maybe you're not, right? It is an adventure. And like the Choose Your Own Adventure books, which I used to love.
I used to love those too.
I
think we just dated ourselves, didn't we?
Oh, old for sure. But like I used to, the amount of times that you'd go to the end and you'd be like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go back to that page and see what would have happened if I made the other choice.
I got my fingers in like 4 different pages because I'm like, ooh, well, what happens if I go this way?
Yeah. And who's to say that that's not what life is, right? Like that's exactly it. You follow one path and you're like, oh, the book ended in like 3 pages. You're like, well, that wasn't good. So you go back and you try another path and be like, oh, that was way more exciting. I got to like read for another like couple of chapters and that was a way better ending. I mean, it must be fascinating being like a fantasy writer who gets to decide whether you bring that character back to life or not. Like, I think Choose Your Own Adventures, that'd be pretty fun with audiobooks. You like push 1 to revive the magician. Push 2, because so often you're like, no, what would have happened if it...
Yeah, that's
I don't like the way
you should start a new thing. Choose Your Own Adventure audio.
Choose Your Own Adventure audio. I think it'd be a thing. I think people would be so into that.
Push 1 if you want to bring this person back. Push 2 if you want to go to the Shire. Oh, Lord.
I just want the
Well,
happy
if you
ending.
don't make the idea, somebody will. So there you go. You heard it here first. Oh,
Scratch and sniff.
hilarious.
So I am Natasha Lucky. I am a business builder. I am an adventurer. I'm about to adventure on my way to Mexico. I think you'll probably see me maybe in this location 1 more time, maybe 2 more times, depending on how many more recordings we get done before I hit the road. But then we will be back to where in the world is Natasha Lockie? And then we will know where she is because she'll be at the beach in Mexico where she belongs. Yeah. You can find me on Betty Go Hard. In my happy place. Exactly. Yeah, Betty Go Hard on Instagram. I will try and do a good job of logging my adventure. Sometimes I feel like my adventure is just boring and my day-to-day is not interesting. And then I watch other people that like literally do 10 stories on them cooking soup. And I watch for some reason. Like, why do I care about you making soup? But I'm watching their stories. So, I don't know. So, yeah, follow my adventures at Betty Go Hard. Facebook too, because I forget to post on Instagram and go to Facebook where, like, it's another conversation, but not loving Facebook right now at all. There's nothing good there. I have to educate myself on things that are happening in order to just even understand what's going on in my feed most of the time, and I don't really want to. LinkedIn, I do post there at least once a week, and Substack. You see me in there when I remember to post over there. Not sounding good with my social media. Anyway, Jenny?
Yeah. I am Jenny Brandon. I'm an animal communicator and energy healer for animals and their people too. You can find me on the web at soulpetconnections.com and on Substack, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, but also not all that consistently, but I am there. We appreciate having you along for this ride today. Please hit the like, comment, subscribe buttons in whatever platform you are in. We appreciate hearing from you and knowing you are out there. We love to hear from fans. If you have ideas for us or suggestions, we'd love to hear that too. So drop us a comment or a message, and we will see you on the next one.
Yeah, have an amazing week. We'll see you soon.